They showed up at my ranch with 2 sheriff's deputies and tried to arrest me on my own land. The HOA president, red pantsuit blazing in the sun, pointed her finger and said, "Our bylaws outrank your deed." I didn't say much at the time. I just smiled because little did she know I built the system her HOA runs on. Before I explain how that happened, let me back up. I'm Mark Thomas, 4th-generation rancher on a piece of land my family's worked for more than 100 years. To the east of my fence line sits Lundy's Landing, a cookie-cutter HOA development where the grass is identical, the mailboxes are cloned, and individuality goes to die. Their president, Karen Dane, runs it like a private kingdom. To her, my red barn was an eyesore, my cattle were smelly, and my fence was a personal insult. It all started with a letter taped to my gate so thick with duct tape you could survive a hurricane with it. Violation, non-compliant barn color. She cited some guideline about architectural harmony. I laughed, used it to start the burn pile, and went about my day. My ranch wasn't in her HOA, never had been. I figured that was the end of it. A week later, I learned how wrong I was. Karen rolled up with 2 county deputies like she was leading a parade. One young, one old, both looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. She jabbed her manicured finger toward me and said, "That man is in violation of a compliance order. Arrest him." My girlfriend Samantha stood behind me filming her phone light blinking red. "Smile for the camera." "Karen," she said sweetly. Karen's eyes narrowed to slits. "You're interfering with an official proceeding," she hissed. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "my property is not, nor has it ever been, part of your association. This fence is the line. You're on your side, I'm on mine." Deputy Cruz sighed and confirmed it. "Ma'am, he's right. County records show this is agricultural land. HOA has no jurisdiction here. You'd think that would end it. But Karen didn't live in the same world as the rest of us. She snapped her binder shut and barked, "Then I'll handle it myself. You'll be brought into compliance. I'll see this ranch condemned if I have to." Then she sped off on her golf cart, parked on my grass naturally. I thought that was just talk, until 2 mornings later when my cattle started bawling. The troughs were bone dry. I followed the water line and found the shutoff valve wrapped in an industrial chain and a brand new brass padlock stamped LLHOA. My stomach dropped. She'd trespassed on my land and shut off water to my animals. I grabbed bolt cutters, snapped the lock, turned the valve. Water rushed through the pipes and my cattle calmed down, but that night I couldn't sleep. I knew she'd come back. So I brewed a pot of coffee, grabbed a mag light, and sat by the valve under the oak tree. Around 2 a.m., I saw flashlights bobbing near the fence. 2 figures slipped under the wire. Karen and some broad-shouldered guy carrying what looked like an axe handle. She shined her light on the broken lock and hissed, "He thinks he's above the law. Epoxy, the new one, he won't cut through that." I flicked on my flashlight, looking for something. She shrieked, blinded. The big guy tensed, gripping that axe handle. "Stay back," he growled. "You're trespassing," I said evenly, "and you're tampering with my water supply. That's animal cruelty, Karen." She straightened, fury dripping from her words. "This is an official compliance inspection." "Yeah," I said, real official with a weapon at 2 in the morning. I kept filming while I texted Deputy Cruz, caught her red-handed. He replied, "Keep recording. We'll add trespass and menacing." Karen saw the camera light and froze. For a moment I saw fear pierce through her arrogance. Then she spun on her heel. "We're leaving, but this isn't over." When their lights disappeared over the fence, I stood there shaking with adrenaline. That's when I realized this wasn't about some barn color anymore, it was war. The next week, a new enemy appeared, buzzing, whining, relentless. A white quadcopter drone hovered over the barn camera, pointed straight at me. It followed me from pasture to porch, spooking the horses watching while we ate breakfast. HOA surveillance. Cruz said not to shoot it, so I got creative. One afternoon, it was hovering low over the corral while I worked a young filly. I grabbed my lariat, swung a few loops overhead, and let fly. Rope sailed up, cinched the drone mid-air, and dragged it down into a pile of hay. It hit the ground with a beautiful crunch. Samantha was laughing so hard she could barely film. I picked up the wreckage and saw a micro SD card glinting in the hay. We plugged it into her laptop, and suddenly we were inside Karen's private world, video after video from her drone spying on neighbors, counting flower pots, measuring fences. Then, near the end, we found one clip different from the rest. Karen on the phone in her home office saying the board already approved the revised annexation survey. Once we declare the property blight, foreclosures automatic. Bulldozers by end of quarter. That was it. She'd forged documents to steal my land. We had her voice, her plan, everything. We brought the files to Bob, a retired county surveyor. He compared the revised map with real county records. Fake, he said. They used a 2018 GPS benchmark on a map dated 2005. Can't happen. It's an anachronism. We photographed it all, notarized an affidavit, handed everything to the county board. And they smiled that bureaucratic smile and said, "You'll have to present it in court." I walked out of that building feeling hollow. Proof wasn't enough. She had power. She had the system on her side. For the first time, I thought maybe I should just sell, leave, let it go. That night, Sam sat beside me on the porch, handed me a beer, and said, "You forgot who you are, Mark. You built that system they all use. You wrote their code." And she was right. Before I came home to ranching, I was a software architect. I helped design the payment and compliance platform that thousands of HOAs, including hers, still ran on. Buried deep in that system was a feature I insisted on the auditor's key. With one command, it could trigger a state-level audit for financial irregularities and freeze every non-essential payment. Landscaping pool contracts, legal fees gone until cleared. It was meant as a last resort for corruption. Karen's HOA fit the description perfectly. I spent the next day in the barn office tapping into old credentials. When the console finally opened, I loaded every file we had, the drone audio, Bob's affidavit, screenshots of Karen's forged map, budget discrepancies showing massive consulting payments to her own LLC. The system flagged 3 violations, then displayed a prompt. Initiate mandatory compliance audit. I hovered for a second, then hit yes. The line of text blinked once. Account frozen, pending state audit. Just like that, Karen's kingdom turned to ice. By morning, the landscaping crew didn't show. The pool closed. Trash pickup stopped. Residents' emails flooded the board. Karen called it a temporary banking issue, but people were furious. Within days, neighbors started talking, realizing their dues were funding her personal crusade against me. Sam helped circulate a digital petition for a recall vote. It hit 50% in 2 days. At the emergency meeting, the clubhouse was packed. We stood in the back while Karen tried to shout over the crowd. "This meeting is invalid," she screamed. Then, as people dropped their ballots into a box, her hired muscle, same guy with the axe handle, grabbed it and ran. Ballots scattered. Chaos erupted. And there, on camera, once again, Karen dropped to her knees, stuffing handfuls of ballots into her purse. Samantha caught every second. That footage became our nuke. 2 weeks later, we took it to the state HOA summit, hundreds of board members, lawyers, and officials in one beige convention hall. During the Q&A, I stepped to the mic and said, "My name is Mark Thomas. I have a case study." Sam plugged her laptop into the projector. The first slide was my red barn at sunset. I told the story calm, factual, the crowd growing silent. Then I showed them the bank records, Karen's shell company, the missing funds, the lawsuits paid from HOA accounts. And when the homeowners tried to vote her out, I said, "This is what she did." The video played. Karen, on screen, caught stealing ballots. Gasps filled the room. A man in a dark suit stood up and said, "Mr. Thomas, I'm David Riley, State Attorney General's office. I think you and I need to talk." That was the moment it turned. 2 days later, Cruz called. "We've got a warrant for Karen Dane, fraud, embezzlement, election tampering. Stay put, she's unpredictable." We didn't have to wait long. I saw her red golf cart tearing across her neighbor's lawn straight toward my fence. She skidded to a stop, hair-wild suit, wrinkled eyes full of rage, axe handle in hand. "You," she screamed. "You ruined me." I stood 20 feet back on my side of the fence. "No, Karen. You ruined yourself. I built this community," she howled. "You're a disease. I was trying to cut out the cancer." She raised the axe handle. Sirens wailed closer. I'm going to tear this fence down, tear down everything you own. I didn't move. She took one trembling step and the blue lights hit her. Karen Dane. Cruz's voice boomed, "Drop the weapon." She froze, shoulders heaving. The axe handle slipped from her hands and landed in the grass with a dull thud. The deputies cuffed her without another word. She didn't look at me again as they led her to the cruiser. The sirens faded down the road, leaving only the sound of wind through the grass. The fence stood firm. The barn glowed red in the setting sun. Sometimes justice doesn't come from shouting louder, it comes from knowing exactly where to pull the plug.